Cable things to the channels. Everything's going really well. We're really expanding the campaign. We're looking at getting some national endorsements and some other things going. So I feel really excited about it. I've been all over. I was at Tea Party last night up in Putnam. We're doing a lot with Constitution Day, with what our rights are, and we'll be having on September 17th, for anyone who wants to join us, a road rally on the Boston Post Road from the Rhode Island border all the way down to Madison, the 2nd District. And we'll be taking our 8-foot-high Statue of Liberty, Lady Liberty. We'll be handing out copies of the Constitution, and actually probably doing a little bit like the Olympic torch passing. We're working on the details now to pass the Constitution from town to town to town. We really want to get people active again. We're working with our youth, and we just finished a bilingual campaign up in the Willimantic area, going after Hispanic voters, talking to them with language-capable people. What was the constant message I'm getting is that the Democrats are no longer representing us. But the problem is that we Republicans have never asked for their vote. So we're going out and asking for it, and so far it's been really good. They're very receptive. So I'm really excited about the way things are going. There's something else that you may be interested in. Under the law in the state, you must teach about the Constitution during September 17th, which is that week, which is Constitution Day. They have to have a program in the school. So we have a series of letters, if you want to contact your superintendent of your schools and ask them, what type of program do you have? And what we've got to do is, like you guys, be really active in doing this stuff. So we can actually challenge them. You have to show us what kind of program you have. In addition, if you don't have that program, we have lots of information on DVDs and curriculum and things like that that can be handed out to the schools that they don't have to create, that they can just use right in the classroom this September. So if anyone needs something like that, just contact me and let me have it.
Thank you very much. I always feel like I'm at home when I'm among groups like this, people who are ardent about their Second Amendment rights. I just think that one of the great problems in our country for the last 30 years or so has been apathy and people who just take their rights for granted. And when I get among groups like this, you actually reflect the spirit that the country was founded in. That feisty fightingness and independence. We're not going to rely on government, and we certainly can't depend on government. If anything, government's a threat to us. And I just feel really at home when I'm among Second Amendment advocates. I'll just give you a quick update. First of all, I can tell you this. Your vigilance pays dividends up at the Capitol. I can tell you there are legislators up there who quake in their little booties when you're around, basically. And believe me, without that, a lot of your gun-owning rights would be threatened and gradually torn down. So you can't give up the fight to retain your rights. You can never sit back on them. And maybe that's a good thing in a way, because it keeps you vigilant and keeps you active. I just think, again, the greatest threat to our liberties are people who take them for granted, grew up with them, never perceived the threat. And you, the Second Amendment folks in this country, are the leaders in this. I just want to say thank you for the support you've given me. I am a reliable vote up there. I passionately believe in what you believe in.
You guys are great. Scott has been awesome. I go on Facebook, I see his posts. You guys show up in Hartford, and I can't tell you, don't ever be complacent. Don't ever give up. No matter what anybody says, just because 1 year you may have protected your Second Amendment right, don't think that next year they don't want to do anything less than take that right away from you. But I'm Chris Coutu. I'm one of the few brave warriors in Hartford who 5 years ago said, you know what, I'm not only going to talk about how messed up government is, I'm going to run for public office. I knew very little. My family didn't vote. I did not know what an ordinance, a bill, a piece of legislation. I had no idea what any of that was. I ran for my local town council, the city of Norwich. As a conservative, from the first day, I said, this is what I believe: limited government, lower taxes, less spending. I believe in the Constitution. To me, this is just common sense. It ends up I win. I was one of the top vote-getters in the city of Norwich. About a year later, I said, we got a lot of problems in Hartford, we got a lot of problems in Washington, D.C. I think I need to challenge our incumbent from Norwich. And at the time, there was not one elected Republican in southeastern Connecticut, if you can imagine, when 70% of the people in Connecticut do not label themselves as Democrats, how can you have all the representatives, all the elected officials in one part of our state, not one of them being a minority party? So I challenged them. It was 2008. I don't know if any of you remember. It was a rough year to run as a Republican. President Obama won, I think, 60-40 in this state. It ends up, I took on a 14-year incumbent. I beat him by 8 points. I took it right to him on every issue. And the time before that, he won by 22 points, so it wasn't somebody that was fading away. But people want conservative leaderships. People that stand by what they believe in, and people that say what they believe and do what they believe. I get to Hartford, actually first when I'm in the council, 3 weeks on the job. I tell my colleagues, we're going to propose a spending cap. 2 Democrats join me, because I have no problem working with Democrats or Republicans, especially if they're conservative, fiscally. I had 2 Republicans. Third week on the job, not knowing much at all, we had the police go around the town and give the mayor, boy was he worked up. My point is, that's the way I think. You need to challenge government. And that's exactly what I've done. In Hartford from day one, I think it was probably a couple months on the job, this bill comes microstamping. I didn't get it. One of my colleagues who's actually running for Senate right now, if you remember, was one of the ones who really was pushing this bill. He said that this piece of legislation would be good, you should do it, blah, blah. And I called him out. I said, who are you? You know, do you have 130 years of talking about coal and some of the other great companies in our state? Who are you to tell our citizens that they need microstamps on the firing pin head? And then I went on and said, this is exactly why I'm elected, to make sure we protect the rights of law-abiding citizens. And it was, I'm really proud of saying that, because you got to understand, you're relatively new, you haven't been in politics too long, but it's exactly what needed to be said. And that's exactly what people in Hartford should be doing. Fast forward, we had another bill, acre for acre. If the state takes an acre of land, that's hunting, we have to replace it with an acre of land. That's a good piece of legislation. That passed 2.5 years ago. I was one of the members who was pushing that. We have some good things. This time around, what do we have? We had the magazine clip bill. I decided early on that I would testify against that bill. It doesn't make sense to me. And I basically gave 10 different points. It's online if you want to look it up and hear what I exactly had to say. But I said this is a quick reaction. And it's far too often government does this. Because of what happened in Arizona. One incident, you're going to change all the laws. And I went on and threw out some other things, such as there's an issue right now with jobs, right? Connecticut was and still has some major manufacturers. So what, you're going to change the rules for them too? It's not right. So we defeated that. We also had the bill where you can have, I believe it was a handgun, and you go deer hunting with a handgun, which is interesting. Somebody must have a good shot, must be real quiet. But it's just, the point is, the Sportsman Caucus in Hartford has worked very hard to not only protect your rights, but expand on some of the laws that we think infringe on that right. I'm always open to learning more about you. You may wonder, where did my background come from that I would even think about Second Amendment? If I wasn't involved in government, didn't really know much about, in all reality, the Constitution, every amendment, what they meant. I have been in the military for 17 years. I was enlisted for 14 years as a tech sergeant in the Air National Guard. The last 3 years, I've actually learned how to hold a weapon properly as an Army officer. So I had the saw. That was kind of like my wife for a couple weeks. But it was a great experience, and that's part of my background, how I truly believe that law-abiding citizens who are in possession of something that's truly a right from the birth of our country, a weapon of any sort, we need to protect that. I really believe, more than ever, we're in a situation where our delegation to Washington, D.C. is anti just about everything related to the Constitution. But they don't believe in the 10th Amendment, they don't believe in the First Amendment, they don't believe in the Second Amendment. But in this case, the Second Amendment's a big one. I know they all receive F ratings year after year. They openly state how much they're against weapons possession and all the other rules that are important to you. So I believe we got to remove some of these legislators. And I'm going to put my neck on the line and challenge one of them Mr. Joe Courtney, who has been an elected official for 30 years.
Too long.
He voted for many bills, but he's never voted against any tax increase. He's never voted against mandates. He truly believes there's only one solution. Big government should control just about everything. And of that includes your Second Amendment. He was the deciding vote on the income tax in 1991. He was one of the deciding votes, and the Connecticut delegation actually carried Obamacare. It passed by 5 votes. If 3 of them voted against it, it would have failed. That's how great Connecticut's delegation is. They're all responsible for the trillions of dollars of debt we have currently, much of the $14 trillion long-term deficit. He, for 30 years, not only destroyed this great state, he's destroying our country. And I believe he has to go. So I'm willing to step up, go to Washington, D.C., challenge what I consider out-of-control government, help our senators get elected, help our state representatives who believe in the Second Amendment and the Constitution and other important things like being fiscally responsible, like you are in your homes. I'm willing to make those hard decisions, like I've done my entire life. In my background, if you read about it, blue-collar roots, tech grad, military officer. I've walked the walk. I've walked the walk as an alderman. I've walked the walk as a state rep, fighting for your Second Amendment. And when I get elected to Congress, we will have at least one conservative Republican in Washington, D.C., and the 2nd District's going to come through. You can know. You can have me at every event that you want, because I'll show up and I'll say exactly how I say it to you today is how I say it to any other audience. Because I believe if you're saying what you really believe, nobody's ever going to catch me in a lie. And that's why I do quite well in the political world. So I'm here to fight for you, and I'm here to answer any questions that anyone may have. God bless America. God bless your Second Amendment. We have a new chairman, and I'm not saying the previous one, there was some good things he did. But we got a fresh start here. And I can almost guarantee something, what I would consider some of the controversies in the background of that, they're not going to happen this or next year under Jerry. Or right now his leadership, he has Jim Conroy working with him, and Themis Claridis, who is a Republican leader in the House, who's feisty and a really good person to have there. So that is basically all I can tell you. The people, not me, voted on a new leader to lead us in a different direction. The party, I've never had Republican on my side. In fact, I hate being labeled as a Republican or anything else, because I view there's 50% of our state is independent.
Well, that's how I feel when I put Republican on my voter card so I could vote for the primary.
Yeah, my wife's independent. But my point is just, there's a lot of, I win in a district, -15. It's one of the toughest districts to win. Atlanta's a tough district too, but it's a very tough district. So the bottom line is, we really need leaders that can go out there, talk to Democrats, because believe me, there's a lot of good ones that vote for me. And there's a lot of good ones that vote for Len, there's a lot of good ones that vote for, there's Democrats in here. I mean, there's a lot of good people that are in all parties, and the country has to realize, we're in this fight together. I mean, a $2 billion tax increase isn't just for Republicans, or isn't just to Democrats or independents. So the view is, we need candidates who understand we have to embrace all the people, and of them, if there's a certain percentage that just aren't going to come with us, that's their problem. But we can win, and we've been winning at the municipal level. I think 2/3, 3/4 of the state municipalities are Republican, I would say conservative leading, and the difference is they will do a 0% tax increase, and the Democrat town will do a 3.5% and be like, we did a great job. And that's exact. Now, in good times, they do 7% increases in spending, because there's more revenue coming, so it only looks like a 3% increase in taxes, but it's really a 7% increase in spending. And the Republican town will do a 4%. So we got to hold our own people to the feet to the fire.
This comes down to selling the ideology versus the brand name.
That's your word, man. I'm all about ideology, so cool. Anyone else? Any questions? We're good? All right, thanks.
Thank you
Pleasure.
very much.